Hey everybody, I hope you are doing well. Lovely to see you. I want to share one of the most single helpful secrets to, adulting, but also just kind of getting through life when you have challenging things. And this is going to maybe seem strange for us, but follow me and I think it'll hopefully make sense. So I'm a big gardener, as I think you know, if you followed me at all. And I do a lot of work out in, the yard. And it's such a pain. I, get like jeans or kind of work clothes on and then I go out. But gosh, I was having to stand up and pull my pants up or adjust the belt or this or that. It was such a pain. And it made it hard to get work done. And I just remember thinking, gosh, I wish there was something that could attach my jeans. I wish I just had a one-piece pair of jeans that wouldn't fall down. And at that point it hit me, oh yes, they've invented these. They're called overalls. This is what farmers wear and other people who are out doing a lot of manual labor. Got some overalls. It's not the greatest aesthetic for me, but it works really well. And I'm now not always trying to hitch my belt up or pull my pants up or whatever. So second thing, I get really, really cold at night, freezing, and my wife tends to be hot at night. And so I've always kind of felt like if you're cold, you can always add more. If you're hot, you can't. So I feel like it's the responsibility of the cold person to just add more layers. But I was really, really cold. And one night, and I couldn't sleep, so I put a hoodie on because I wanted to have my head covered, and I did that, and it was miserable sleep because the hood kept my head warm, but it's very constricting and confining, even a loose hoodie. So that didn't work out so well. So I remember thinking, gosh, if only there's a lightweight head covering that I could wear, some kind of cap I could wear at night in bed, just to give me the little extra warmth to keep my body heat in, and maybe to even slide off in the middle of the night, but it wouldn't encumber me and make me feel all twisted. Oh, yeah, guess what? They invented those too. It's called a nightcap, and people wore them for hundreds of years. So I bought a nightcap. Again, it's not a great aesthetic. Don't get me wrong, I'm not bragging about my look here, but it's really effective and it's so great. Okay, recently, my hair started thinning, and the dermatologist said, okay, if you're out in the sun, you need to wear a hat or you need to put sunblock on. Well, I'm not gonna put sunblock in my hair. That's just weird and gross. So I've worn a hat. Well, I'm baseball cap. I like it, but man, they're hot. Plus it kind of has an informal feel. I don't feel like it always fits every occasion. It's gosh, if only they had lightweight hats that are let the heat out of your head, and so they don't hold the heat in, but they keep your head protected. Oh, straw. Actually, I already had a straw hat because I used it when I had this discovery years ago when I was working in the yard. So now I wear a straw hat almost whenever I'm out in the sun, or in the winter, a heavier hat. All right. Also super hot. I have to be outside a lot. My new position at work. I have to stand out in the morning for morning drop off. It's really hot. Well, turns out that Southern men have worn linen suits for a long time. Southern men wear linen, seersucker, etc. suits and shirts, and it's kind of been done for a long time. Turns out it's really, really cool. It works very well in the heat, and it's very comfortable. So I started doing that. Here's the point. Almost everything in our society, there are thousands and tens of thousands of years of people who've already done this the hard way, who've learned through experience. And because of that, we have customs and traditions and sometimes kind of folk wisdom, and maybe even old wives' tales. Can we say that anymore? Old spouses' tales. Anyway, old husbands' tales. Anyway, we live in a time when I just feel like there's almost this instinct to if it's old, just get rid of it. If it's something that you heard from your parents or your grandparents, it's just that can't be right. The world's different. There's kind of an arrogance in that, to be honest, in my opinion, because yeah, there's some different things for sure, but the fundamentals really haven't changed that much in many ways. Now, not everything should be kept. There's things we should discard. All right. Parenting practices, for example, we should, we know more. We should do different. We should raise our kids different. However, that doesn't mean we throw everything out. So here's my suggestion. Try to learn about the traditions of the past. Okay. Learn about the ways people used to do things, and then understand why. And once you understand why, you can decide to keep it or not. It may be perfectly fine to discard. That is a very natural and acceptable part of growth and change, right? Evolution. My dad talks about when he was a kid, it was just like, if you made an adult mad, they just kind of give you a backhand and, tell you to shut up. Like, no one cared about his feelings, and teachers, literally know him. Now, I think we may have come, in correcting that, we've probably come a little bit too far, I think, perhaps. And there's probably, but at any rate, I'm not saying knock your kids around, but I am saying there's a great G.K. Chesterton, English author, had a really good kind of thought experiment thing. He just said there's a certain kind of reformer that when they see a fence in the woods or the country, they just say, tear down this fence, it no longer serves a purpose. What is it doing here anyway? It doesn't belong here, just get rid of the thing. But you don't do that until you actually know why the fence was put there. It's entirely plausible that there is a reason that the fence was there. So you can tear the fence down, no problem, but you need to know why it's there. And once you understand the function, why did someone put this fence there? They probably weren't crazy. They probably weren't stupid. Probably weren't evil. Now, it very well may be that the fence is no longer serving its purpose. It's fine. Or maybe that the fence could be replaced by something a little sleeker or less intrusive, or, sturdier. I mean, any number of things. But don't just throw things out. Think about it carefully. And I'd say especially this, it's really important that we not parent from our own traumas. And what I mean by that is we all have them. Even if you had really loving, caring parents, chances are, you've got some wounds, some baggage you're carrying around, right? Happens with the best of parents. I know my parents had baggage from their parents. I have some baggage from them, and undoubtedly my children have baggage from me. Ideally, we can try to make it so it's not terrible baggage, but it happens. So, but just because I may have some issues or some baggage with something, that doesn't even mean that the principle's wrong, okay? Maybe the execution was a little too much, or maybe my response wasn't great. But if I'm parenting out of my traumas, I'm not parenting my children, I'm parenting myself. That's not my job. I need to parent them, and I need to do what's best for them, not what would have been best for me. All right, so it's really important. I've seen this is an easy mistake to make. I've caught myself doing it sometimes. I've seen a lot of other people doing it, and it really can be destructive, honestly. It's just not healthy for your child. Remember that, the difference between poison and medicine is often in the dose, okay? So, here's, anyway, you may have had a parent who was, really insistent on getting good grades and achieving high, and maybe that was too much, all right? Maybe that caused all kinds of stress on you. Well, that is true, though. It is a good thing to try to achieve to your best potential. It's not good to just feel pressure to achieve just an arbitrary standard, but, getting good grades in school, working hard, those are good things. I think we would agree. Can be stretched too far. But if you grew up with, you carrying this baggage, this trauma, whatever, we need to use trauma carefully. It actually has a specific meaning, like bullying. We use those words way too often, and it's messing up what it really means. Whatever baggage you have, or even if it's real trauma, okay, you don't do your child a favor if you just say, no, we're not gonna, I don't care what their grades are, I'm not gonna force them. I hated the way my parents did it to me, and I'm not gonna do it to them. That's not healthy for the child, clearly, right? That is parenting yourself, not your child, and your child needs you to parent them. Now, obviously, you're gonna probably want to tone it down, and maybe, for me, it was never, I've always told my kids, I don't care. If you work to the best of your ability and you're not goofing around and you get, a B or C. I mean, if you're really trying, I'm okay with the grade, but I do insist that you work hard, and I don't want to hear that you're goofing off or like being lazy. That I think is a really important thing. So basically, kind of putting all of this together, you know, humankind has evolved, and I think it's so easy to take for granted how this happens. You know, the knowledge of, I mean, just think about like herbs that will help you or heal you or some way, or at least just the edible berries or something, right? Think of all the trial and error that had to happen for humankind to get the knowledge reliably of what was safe to eat and what was not, or how it had to be prepared. Some people died some pretty painful deaths, or had severe, you know, gastrointestinal distress or weird hallucinations in order for us to have that knowledge, okay? That's kind of been passed down and handed down. There's so many things that seem arbitrary and weird. I was talking to my wife the other day. I actually meant to research this, but we were, you know, so often you'll hear a really kind of fussy old rule, and it makes no sense. Like, okay, why can't you wear white after Labor Day, for example? And I have no idea. I actually meant to research this, so I could be totally wrong. Feel free to write in and correct me. But I did wonder if it was this. My assumption is that likely this grew out of the wealthy elite, like in like maybe the Gilded Age, that kind of era, when they went away to summer, and they would go summer in, you know, nice places. They lived in New York City, but they would go summer in wherever, you know, Long Island or Catskills or any number of places. And I think from pictures I've seen, maybe I'm wrong, but it appears that they often wore white during the summer months, which makes sense. It's cool, it's light, it's, you know. Well, traditionally summer has run from, say, like Memorial Day to Labor Day. And so part of me wonders if this is an old rule about maybe they summered in their whites and then you went back to the city after Labor Day, and you wouldn't really want to, especially back in, you know, that era, you wouldn't want to walk around New York City in whites because it's just too dirty. And I do wonder if that may be how, you know, a lot of our social kind of the etiquette and things like that were evolved or formed by, you know, the upper, you know, classes on the East Coast, kind of those waspy early socialites. I could be wrong, but I think it makes a point even if I am wrong. Often when you dig, there's like a reason. It's not just totally random. Now, on the other hand, there's this great old story about a young bride who once was making a new wife was making like a ham for Sunday dinner. She'd invited her parents over to her new house, and she was making a ham, which was like one of their family favorites. So her mom was there, and she saw that her daughter was cutting the end off of each end of the ham was cutting a big chunk off. And like while they were making that, her husband was like, well, wait, why are you cutting the ends off the ham? And the wife was like, well, because that's how my mom did it. Like, that's how you make a ham. So then the mom came to dinner and they asked her about it, and she kind of laughed. She said, oh my gosh, no, that has nothing to do with preparing the ham. It's that when the oven I had was very small, and so when I had a big ham, I just had to cut part of it off so it would fit. So you have that extreme, and then you have the, you know, there's things that we do because they have no utility. There's things that we do that once had utility that really don't matter, like the whites. Now we have, you know, washing machines. It's easy to keep your clothes clean. You know, it's not hard, so you can wear white whenever you want. There's no inherent reason not to. And then we have things, though, that are good in dose, but maybe need to be modified. So, again, with a great example, it may be that your parents went too hard on something, but that doesn't invalidate the principle or the area that they were going hard on. It just might mean your approach needs to be different, right? Maybe you reward instead of punish, or maybe whatever. Okay, and then we also have things that really probably shouldn't be thrown away, even if they are very old. okay? And I'm reluctant to try to give examples of that because you may disagree. But I think there's some basics. Adults should be adults. Adults are in charge for a reason. Children are not. And there's a reason for that. We know more than they do. And they are, by definition, immature. They're still developing. No shame in that. That's what happens when you're an adolescent or a child. Their brains aren't fully formed until their 20s, I think. I think you just in a workshop, and executive function doesn't really click in. I'd have to check my notes, but like executive function doesn't kick in fully until I think it was like your late 30s, or sorry, your late 20s, I believe. I'd have to double check that, but anyway, it takes a while. There's this weird thing where like children are somehow wiser and they just know more. They're more pure in their passions and I'm sorry, it's not true. I don't believe that. And I just think it's hard to find significant examples of that happening over the long term, okay? There's things that children don't understand, cause and effect of delayed gratification. They're still working to try to understand the world. They're still working to try to understand themselves. I mean, heavens, you don't know yourself when you're 13. No reason. All right, just the fact that they want something or feel strongly about it should not be a reason. We don't, we're the parents, teachers, coaches, whatever, for a reason. Anyway, the point of all of this is you don't have to parent alone. All right, you have tens of thousands of years of behavior, some of which may not be good, some of which is probably helpful but might need to be changed, some of it that may really not fit a time anymore. We know more about sleep, for example. Kids used to have to wake up really early to go to school or whatever, but they had to wake up and milk the cows first. My grandpa had to do that. But that's not great. We know more about that, so we're going to discard that. All right, there's no necessary virtue in making kids get up early. I mean, if they have to work hard, that's great. It's character forming, but we shouldn't generalize about it. Anyway, but don't just discard everything. If you are kind of rootless and you don't feel like you have a lot of sense of traditions or knowledge of the way things used to be, find an old person. Honestly, that's one thing. We're all pretty happy to tell you the way things used to be and why they were better. Pretty easy to find an old person to tell you how things used to be. And then listen carefully and think about the why. All right? Understand that. And again, don't parent from your own baggage or your own trauma, whatever you call it. That's parenting you and not your child, and that's not healthy. They need you to parent them. I hope all that makes sense, and I hope it's helpful. I'm going to talk more later about another principle, but and let me know if this format works for you. Sometimes I want to write out a really long, nuanced piece, and other times I feel like this is a nice way to share. You can read it, the transcript, or listen to it if you listen on podcasts or whatever. But I hope it's useful to you, and I wish you well. Happy parenting. You've got this. Sincerely, Braden.